Hey everybody, it's David Fitz. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk With You podcast. This is episode number 35, and I guess today is Brittany J. Thurman. She's a wonderful artist, author, librarian. I think of other adjectives to say about you, Brittany. Wonderful, I'll say all around wonderful person.
Thanks.
Today's episode we was about your work as an author, working with children, in the library system. What other fun facts that you want to share for the audience before they take a listen?
So I'm a writer. I'm also a children's librarian, and so I like to emphasize that diversity. There needs to be more diversity in children's writing and writing period. And really my love for writing and where it came from. And also my love for reading too. I think as a librarian, you have to love books. So.
Right. Awesome. Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's episode, and be sure to check out Brittany's website, and information is in the description below.
Welcome to the Let's Talk With You podcast.
First of all, can you tell me about your work as a writer, how you got started, or your interest in becoming a writer, for starters?
Yeah, so I've always, I guess, have had this passion for writing. When I was in middle school, I would write a lot in my spare time, probably more than what I do now. Me and my cousins would get together and we would just make up scripts and then we would act them out. And I guess it started then. In high school, I would write poetry and I took theater classes. And then in college, I actually thought that I wanted to act. So I went to school for theater and realized that I was a lot better at writing than what I am at acting and being on stage. So for a while I was writing plays, and I went to Carnegie Mellon for dramatic writing, and it just really honed, I guess, my craft, and realized that I have talent in this and that I can put it, I guess, to good use. So that's kind of how it started off and led me to where I am now.
Okay. Because now, you told me that you are working with children in a library system, is that right?
Yeah, so I am a library assistant, but I pretty much think of myself as a librarian because, I'm doing everything that my colleagues are doing. I do baby and toddler story times throughout the week, and I go to different schools and daycare centers that are around my library. And so I'm reading to kids, I'm recommending books to kids, I'm managing a part of our collection in the library. So I'm really getting to see the books that publishers are putting out there and what sells. And I'm seeing, I guess, also what kids are gravitating towards too.
Mm-hmm. So what are you seeing that kids of today are gravitating towards?
I guess it depends on the age. So the preschoolers and I guess some of the school age kids that I see, they love Elephant and Piggy books, which is by an author called Mo Willems. They love the Pigeon stories by Mo Willems. They love silly stories. I did try reading something a little bit more serious to them. It was a picture book that was about a little girl trying to find other kids who she wanted to play with, and like that didn't really go over so well with them. So they really like the serious things. I mean, not the serious things. Sorry, they really like silly things, but really, I guess different kids have different tastes too. So I mean, I see kids coming in the library and pulling out various, books that they love to read.
What type of genres do you like? Are you interested in?
So you mean like as a writer, like
Yeah.
the things I'm writing, or just what I like to read?
Both.
So I like, I guess, like a mixture of everything. I like some historical fiction. I guess I love stories that feature something called magical realism, where it's not really like it has reality in it, but there's some type of like magical element that's thrown in there too. And I like to write stories that are like that. I think it's just like I read a lot of different things, so my tastes are varied. Like if it's a well written book, I can like anything. Like I liked reading The Martian, which was something like that I don't know. I think like I didn't necessarily think I would get into it, but I loved reading that book. So it really just varies.
Because I remember the short story you had me read that you wrote, and I really enjoyed that one. I'm just curious.
Okay.
Did you publish that yet? I'm just curious.
No. I'm trying to think of which one that was, because I've written so.
That was the girl that fell, the star that fell to Earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've revised that, and I put it down probably permanently, because I think like I like this story, but I don't think it's something that I'm going to publish anytime soon. Mm-hmm. I just think it's one of those, like, I think as a writer, you have works that like you write and that kind of like help to build you as a writer and help to build your craft, but it's not necessarily something that like, I guess it's going to be out in the world. I don't know. I might have to come back to it.
Okay. Well, I hope you do, because you're really great. One of the things I like about your writing is that you're really great at making people visualize like the movie in their head. So I could really picture, and I'm not going to say plot points, but I could picture the beginning, middle, ending of like where you had the characters, and from where starting to ending is like I could really picture it. So
okay.
So
Well, I can go back to it. It's something that like I think about every now and then. So
okay. So you said earlier that I know you studied abroad. So how was that experience for you?
So I studied theater in London for about 3.5 years. Pretty much almost 4 years I was over there.
Okay.
And it was something like, I guess it's an experience that I wouldn't trade. Like if I had to do it over again, I would. But I think that it was draining being that far away from my family. Like I think that like if you want to study something like theater, then immersing yourself in a place that's prominent in theater is definitely the way to go. And I felt like that was the right thing for me to do. But it's hard being abroad for like 4 years and not being able to like hop on the bus or hop on the plane to see your family and be there in a couple of hours,
Right.
Yeah, but if I had to do it again, I would. I would probably do some things differently, but it was an experience that I'm thankful for, and like I think about, and I wish that I could go back and just visit. So hopefully I'll be able to do that in the future.
Okay. Yeah, you should get out and travel more, and I think your story is something that like people will like, because I know a lot of people would want to travel, but they're maybe a little uneasy about it. And as you said, like it's not easy just to say I want to go home. You have to take, I think, was it like a 12-hour, 18-hour trip from London to the States? I can't remember.
Well, it's about 8 or 9, depending on where you're traveling from. So from like London to Chicago, it might be about 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it just depends, I guess, like on what part of the country you're in, but it's about like 7 or 8.
So I'm not sure. I don't know what country I'm thinking of saying 18 hours.
Probably like I would love to go to Australia, but that's one of those plane rides where like you're on a plane the whole entire day, and I don't know if I can handle that. So yeah,
I understand that. So your experiences, like, you know, I'm gonna jump around with like things like I know about you. I'm just gonna jump around. So your experiences that you had, which I guess led you to where you are now. Like, what are things that you've enjoyed, like, you know, from studying abroad to like I know where you're from and stuff. So, what have you enjoyed about life?
I guess like I think the one thing that I've enjoyed the most is having a really supportive family. So like my grandmother and my aunts, my cousins, like everyone's really like loving and supportive. I think that's like the one thing that I really value like in my life is family. So yeah, that's like one thing that I like hold, you know, I mean it comes first to me, you know, my family, so that's what I've enjoyed the most.
Okay. So so how did you first get into like your love of reading and writing?
Well, I think like reading came from my grandmother. She was always, well, reading and traveling came from my grandmother. She was always reading a book and always traveling somewhere. And I remember when I was little, I struggled with reading, which is like now that I think about it, it's kind of weird because I love to do it. But I was probably like in the first, second grade, and I just could not grasp words. And it really bothered me. And I think I remember having like these little books, but it was like the books read the story along with you. So you would press a button and then it would read like the words that were on the page. And that's one thing that really helped me grasp how to read. But seeing my grandmother and just how she enjoyed it, I think that's one thing that kind of helped me to enjoy it too. And I think that's something that like parents should understand, is that sometimes it's something as simple as you having a book and like your child seeing that helps your child to understand that like reading is important and reading is actually enjoyable. Like instead of shoving like you have to read like down your child's throat. But I guess writing, I don't know. I think when I picked up words, maybe I picked up how words and sentences are structured and what makes something sound good on page. Honestly, I don't know like where my love of writing came from. It was just there. So.
Okay, I got you. So, I was looking at your website. So you have a Master's in Fine Arts and Dramatic Writing from Cambridge Mellon University. So, how does that tie into your bachelor's in theater?
So my master's is from Carnegie Mellon University, which is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and well, I think that writing and theater kind of go hand in hand because undergrad I studied theater, and I was studying, I guess, the background of theater, like oh gosh, I can't even think of the word, but anyway, so like the background of theater, how like theater was established in the UK. And also I directed plays while I was there and wrote plays while I was there. And so I think that like understanding what makes a good play and what makes good dialogue helps people to write better stories. Say in dialogue with a few words. And I feel like I just have like a grasp on how to make certain characters stand out and how to make their voices stand out, and theater helped with that. So I guess my background in theater has helped with my writing.
Because part of the reason that I asked is because I know recently, and I was going to come to this later, but I'm going to just come to it now. I know recently I saw you were making posts on Facebook about representation for children of all backgrounds. So I was wondering, like, how, like, learning the elements of storytelling, like, on different mediums, whether it be plays versus writing a novel, like how that goes into I guess trying to reach people where they are as example children.
So like the things that I guess essays that I've written or posts that I've written on Facebook, has kind of stemmed out of my work in children's literature and working at a library and seeing that the books that are on library in bookshelves don't represent how our world is. And I can even like think back to when I was a kid. The only book that stands out where it showed a girl who was Black who looked like me was Addie Walker, an American Girl. And if you know the American Girl series, Addie Walker was a slave who ran away. And I kind of feel like as I grew up, I kind of thought, why is that like the only thing that was for me? Why was this popular book, which was a good series, and I loved Addie Walker, but growing up a kid in the 90s, I wasn't a slave. I wasn't trying to run away. I knew about slavery. I knew about my ancestors. I don't see why that was the only book that was out there for me. And I feel like kids need to have books that show themselves, but show themselves in the present day. We can read about history, which is great, but at the same time, kids need to see themselves now. And the books that are on bookshelves don't represent the kids of today, and that's a major issue that I'm passionate about. I get frustrated trying to look for books that are diverse for me to read to classes, whether those classes are full of Black kids or whether those classes are full of white kids. Kids, period, need to see different cultures, and when you're reading the same books over and over again, that becomes a problem too. Right. So it's like a major issue.
It is, and like, I remember I read. I don't know if I read all of the American Girl stories as a kid, but I do remember reading most of them, and I didn't think about that much. But now that you said it, it's like, why was our only representation a slave? It didn't make sense. But...
Yeah, I don't know if it was because, I mean, people write about history, and I don't know, but I feel like that's not. There should, like, yes, I should have been reading that. It's a perfectly good story, but at the same time, there should have been other things available for me too, and I can't think of what those other things were. I can't think of what those other things were, and that's a problem too. Because I feel like if there were other things out there that showed someone who looked like me, then I would remember it, and I don't. So
you're right. Because I'm trying to remember, like, even when it comes to like cartoon shows or movies now, like. Okay, I'll use like the holiday movies right now. They're kind of in that some semi in hot water because people are pointing out why is it that Black people are only the friend or the neighbor or the coworker, but we're never like the stars of the stories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it's yeah, it bothers me, and then I see like kids who are I see diverse children come into the library, and I'm thinking like are these kids gravitating, like what are they gravitating towards? And then if it's not books, because we do have other things in the library, so if they're not gravitating towards books, like what's the reason behind that? Is it because there aren't necessarily a selection of books that are for them?
mm-hmm. If I'm right, libraries now is the most have included with videos now, maybe some music, the audio books on tape. But then I'm thinking young adult sections. There's no. I mean, I'll be honest. If I go to the library now, I'm going to go get graphic novels, things that I just can't afford in
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble. But I'm trying to think. Last time I actually went to like a young adult section, I didn't really see much like books for everybody. It was just more of the maybe Caucasian male protagonist, super hero or something. There wasn't a lot of us.
Yeah, and I think that like graphic novels are great. Like graphic novels are great to get kids reading who might not necessarily want to read like a full-on chapter book, or someone who struggles with reading. Graphic novels are a great way to get kids to read, and I feel like now there are maybe some more like nonfiction graphic novels which feature historic events and people of color. Like there's the March series by John Lewis, which is fantastic. But then, like when you think of like those fictional stories, they just aren't prominent, or they're not there. So, and I don't really like. I do read young adult books, but mostly like I don't necessarily go to like the young adult or like the adult section of the library, because like I just request my books through the system, and so I'm not like really like looking to see what's on those shelves, right, which is probably something that I should do.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. I think as we get older, or in some cases, it doesn't matter if it's like books, but it's just like the things that we enjoy. We kind of get set in our ways. So we know what we know what we want to read. We know what we want to watch. So we kind of stick to what we know. But yet, when you're looking at children, they're still discovering themselves. So it's like you have to kind of, in some cases, figure out what are they into. Like you were saying earlier, like figuring out what the children are coming in to read. And then it's like, well, what are their interests? What's popular today? But have you had much of what's the right word for it? Have you had like a lot of influence on children, by showing them the different stories?
That's a good question. I don't know. Like, I don't want to sound conceited and say, "Oh, I've had a major impact on kids." I don't really know the impact that I've had on kids. I only know like what I guess what I see like during my story times, when I see the kids happy and excited about reading stories, and happy and excited about doing the games that we play and the songs that we sing, then I know that maybe some way I'm making some type of impact. I think sometimes like it's the smaller things that help me see that I'm making like a difference. Like one of my outreaches that I went to, at the end, one little girl like forced me to give her a high five. Like she was really adamant about me giving her a high five. And I think that shows that like she values me coming to her class and reading stories, but also she values me being there and me like helping her with loving to read. And I think that it's also important because this little girl was Black, and I think it's important for her to see loving, stories and reading. So.
Mhm. So, do you remember the days of like having the Scholastic Book Fair and stuff, like coming to schools?
Yeah.
And so, how was that time for you? Like, I don't know about you. Like for me, I tried to say I would get the magazine and circle all these books that I wanted, which I'm like I didn't need them. I just wanted them because they look cool. But how was that time for you?
I honestly can't really, I don't know, remember. I remember one Scholastic Book Fair at the elementary school that I went to. I just remember books being, everywhere, but I don't know why. I can't really, that's just something that doesn't really pop up in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I just didn't go to a lot of those events. I don't know. I just can't really remember being excited about them. I think as a kid, there were just certain books that I loved, and I just read them over and over again. And I don't know. I don't. It's not really something that pops up in my head.
Gotcha. I was just curious because I was just wondering what was everyone's. I know we all had different experiences, but I'm starting to see there's some commonalities between people where they grew up. That did you have bookmobiles as well?
Not where I grew up.
Okay.
Actually, I used to work on a bookmobile, and that was when I started working for this particular company. That was the first time I had ever heard of a bookmobile. But growing up, I grew up in Kentucky. We didn't.
Okay.
We didn't have that.
What was life in Kentucky? I've never been.
Say it again?
I've never been to Kentucky, so what was life growing up in Kentucky for you?
Well, so part of my childhood, I spent in Kentucky. The rest of it, up until my freshman year of college, I spent in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I think, my childhood in Kentucky was pretty good. I was around my family constantly. We would go to the country, quote-unquote the country, which was an hour and a half away, and visit my great-grandparents. And I guess, it was kind of relaxing. I just, when I think about my childhood in Kentucky, I think, I was definitely happy, and I was definitely one of those country girls who also lived in the city. So I don't know. It was good.
Okay. Because for a while, I actually thought you were from here at first. At first, I did.
Yeah. No, I moved to North Carolina when I was in the 4th grade, and I went to, so I lived in Raleigh. Okay. So I went to, in 4th and 5th grade, I was in elementary school in North Carolina, J.Y. Joyner, and then middle school, I was at Durant Road Middle School, which was probably the best time of my life, even up until this day. I think middle school was it was just the best time for me. And then I went to Wakefield High School. So yeah, I was in North Carolina for about 12 years. Gotcha. Before moving to London.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm seeing the picture now. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of convoluted. I remember I would try to explain that to someone, and they just didn't believe that I had lived in all these places. I'm just from Kentucky, moved to North Carolina, I've just kind of been, I don't know, all over the place.
Gotcha. And in some cases, I think that's kind of a good life. You're getting to have different, not only regional experiences, but you're having worldwide experiences.
Yeah.
So, do these experiences, or do you feel that these experiences contribute to the person that you are now?
Yeah, definitely. I think I would probably be different. I would definitely be different if I spent my whole life in Kentucky. I think that traveling and seeing the world, even just living in North Carolina helped me to see another part of being, I guess, American, or being, just another part of life. and that you know, there's more out there than like what like just what's around us. So I think that like if I had stayed in one place, I would definitely be like a different person, which isn't like a bad thing. I just I think like, you know, the things you go through definitely shape you.
I agree with that because I've been here my entire life. I've you know, traveling places, but never actually lived anywhere else. Like like North Carolina is home for me, but you know, maybe one of these days I'll up and move somewhere else. But that might be hard. But you know, we have to spread our wings and go, essentially.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm asking you all these things is like I'm painting a picture of who you are, Brittany, and I'm seeing that like I know like the things that you're doing, like writing and being a voice for children. I'm seeing that these things, various things like studying abroad, living here, growing up in Kentucky, and where you are now, like it's connecting. Like I'm connecting the dots of like who the person you are. Like I feel like a well-rounded individual, and I think people can learn a lot from you.
Thank you.
Well, I was wondering in terms of like the stories you've written, like, do you pull from like your various experiences, from like where you've been?
Not necessarily. I think it depends on the story. Like I recently wrote a story, and I don't know if it's going to be a picture book or just a short story. I don't know what it's going to be, but it was definitely taken from my childhood. But for the most part, like when I write, I don't it's not from like my experience. And I think that like with writing there are aspects of ourselves that we put in our writing unconsciously, but unless I intentionally do that, more than likely my writing is just going to be something that's fictional, that I want out in the world.
Gotcha. I see. Because I was kind of wondering, like, you know, like the things that we experience and stuff we enjoy. Because I don't want to put this out there. Like I've been trying to write something for years, and a few times like I've shared it with people. Most things I get the comments I can get are like, "We can tell you love Star Wars. We can tell you like Dragon Ball Z. We can tell you like this." I'm like, I was hoping that wouldn't come up, but it's you can't help what you are exposed to.
Yeah, I feel like what you like somehow like a part of you is going to be a part of that writing, especially like even if you do it unconsciously, but it doesn't make up like your writing. So I don't know if that makes sense, but recently, not recently, maybe about a year and a half ago, I attended a writing class and was really frustrated because the teacher told me that this particular story that I was writing had to be based on some experience I was having in my life, which wasn't the case. The book that I was writing at the time was something completely fictional. I wanted it to be a dystopian novel. Dystopian novels have a tendency to have death and violence, and somehow they thought that indicated that I had been through something, and that's why I was writing that. I think that people need to understand that, like, when people write, it's not necessarily coming from their experience. Maybe they're just writing because they want to tell a good story.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And what would you say to people who say like it's kind of hard for them to write stories? Like I know I've heard something about like I wish I remember the publishers, but it was a gaming conference, and one of the snippets I saw was that they said trying to write for minorities was a little difficult because they weren't minorities and they didn't really know how, like, they want to include people, but they wouldn't know like the best story to tell. What would you say to people who have those challenges?
I think I think like for one, if it's a publisher who's saying that, I think the publisher should definitely look at minority writers who are already writing stories about their experiences, and are trying to put those stories out there. So I feel like as a minority, whether it's because of your race or your religion or if you have disability, I feel like people who are in the minority get forgotten about or get ignored. But I think that like if it's someone who is writing a story that features a diverse character and that person doesn't necessarily know anything about that character's background, I think that they should get to know that background and really put themselves in that character's shoes, have people of that culture of that culture to read their stories and to I guess see if what the person is saying is making sense. Like I went to a conference recently and I had someone come up to me and say and ask if I could read their story and make sure that it was authentic to an African American character, and I agree that I would. I think that like I think it gave me a little bit of peace of mind that like this person valued that I would read her story and give her feedback and tell her like if the African American character seemed realistic. But also I think it's kind of more than that too. Like, so yeah, you should get people to read and to, give you feedback on it. But also like you should really get to know that culture too, and like don't just write about a particular background just for the heck of it. Like do it because it's something that's really needed. I think that's like a problem that's going on. People are writing these quote unquote diverse stories, but they're just writing it because we're calling for diverse books, and they're not writing it because they really want this authentic story to be out there, and that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. I think the same could be said for film and television. That
yeah,
we'll write something for I'll just say like a black audience, but most stories are the ones of coming from what is that Drake thing, starting from the bottom nowhere or something, whatever. As stories like that, it's like somebody escaping from a situation or having to get out of a situation to do something else. It's like, why can't we just have a generic story with someone who happens to just being black?
Yeah, I should probably watch more television. I don't really turn on my TV, but I do feel like it's a problem. And now I guess they have gotten better about it. There's more TV shows that feature like black families or minority families, but in television and film, it's definitely still a problem.
It is. I don't know. I'm trying to think. There are some shows I did watch, and in some cases it was like, okay, you're watching this network's black show. Like it just kind of felt like, okay, this is what I'm watching. Like when ABC Family had Lincoln Heights on, like for that to come on when it did, of showing the verse issues, that was a step in the right direction. But yet you go from that to something like House of Pain on TV, the TBS House of Pain. Those were two drastic minority shows.
Yeah.
Where it's like, but then let's have like like a regular CSI with a black cast, or some supernatural show, or science fiction show and it just happens to have like a minority cast, and you don't, can we have something where it doesn't have to deal with the stereotypical norms? And I guess the same I would say for novels too. Like, have you seen situations where the the character is portrayed in the novel as African American or another minority, but then on screen it's like they completely just changed it and it's something else?
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of maybe some books to film that I've seen. Uh, I don't know. The one thing I guess that came to mind was the Hunger Games.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, it was like a big thing when they cast Rue as a black girl, and in the book she is a dark skinned child. So I don't know. Like I think maybe the problem is that there aren't books out there that feature a minority protagonist, and then that book hasn't gone to film, so I don't really have an example to give of where there was a minority main character in a book, and then in the film that main character is white or a different culture. Like I feel like we have such a lack of like books that feature a main character who is a minority. I can't even give an example.
I can't think of any either. I know in Harry Potter there were some characters that we knew were black and saw them portrayed as black on screen. So say, okay, I knew that person was black, but then in some cases they changed the actor later on for the same character for some unknown reason, and
yeah,
they just changed the whole ethnicity. So it's, in a lot of ways we have still a long way to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'm just trying to think, like, what do you think would be good ways to get more people to be more interested in writing books? Because like I know a lot of things are becoming more digital nowadays. Like there's not a lot of people, I guess, finding the interest to say I want to be an author. What are your thoughts?
I guess I mean, I feel like if that's what they want to do, then they should take it seriously and realize that it's not just a hobby, that you can make a serious, you can be serious about it. You can get published, whether it's self-published or through a publisher. Like it can happen. You just have to dedicate yourself to it and understand that rejection is a part of the process, and understand that if you have a story to tell, you shouldn't give up on telling that story.
So, in terms of like being publishing works, like how have those experiences been for you?
So how does publishing work?
Or how has that been for you, like in terms of like getting your work published?
It's been difficult. I think that the way that I'm doing it is definitely not the easiest way. Like I could go out and have that story that you read published through like self-publishing it. I could do that like tonight, but I don't want to do that. So I think that like if you do what I'm doing, which is trying to get an agent or a publisher to look at your work and to have it published through a publishing house, then that's the hardest way for you to get your work out there. Agents most of the time reject the letters that they get. They call it a slush pile. So basically, when you send your letter to an agent, more likely they're going to come back with a no. And I think it's just like trying, like keeping on and trying and not getting discouraged from like the rejection letters, but also finding like other avenues to get into having your work published. Like write articles, write blog posts, go to conferences, meet agents in person, meet editors in person and let them see that you're a real person, not just somebody behind an email address. Like, you really exist and you're really trying. It's not impossible. I think just at times it feels impossible, but it's not impossible.
Exactly. I understand that. Do you get like a lot of feedback from the work that you have published?
Have I say it again?
You got like a lot of feedback from the stuff that you have published?
Some, like, I've had people to read my work, and I've gone to like critique groups. Sometimes I pay to have my work critiqued because sometimes it's like the only option that I have available, and I need someone to read it. So yeah, like, I've gotten feedback, and I think that's definitely helpful. Like, I think a mistake that a lot of emerging writers have is that they write their first draft and they think that it's perfect, and it's not perfect. Like, you need to either put it down, not look at it for a while, and then look at it and see how bad it is, because more likely it is bad. Or you need to have someone else read it and tell you what's wrong and what can be fixed. I think that that's the major benefit of going to grad school for dramatic writing. My days there were spent sitting in a room full of people, having them listen or having them read my work, and then them telling me what they think needed to be improved. And like, that wasn't the easiest thing. Like, it's not the easiest thing to hear that your work sucks. But eventually, like, you understand, like, they're doing it for your benefit. So I think that, like, a lot of writers have an issue with critiques, and an issue with people telling them what can be better, when all that they need to do is listen and take what they want from that critique.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, you're making me have flashbacks of different critiques, stuff in college. Oh boy. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It teaches you to develop thick skin about, you know, having stuff come back to you, because like you said, people want to make you better, and it's up to author, whether it be a photography or videos, manuscripts, what have you. It's about making yourself better, but you have to be open to receiving that criticism.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm gonna go back to when we talked about earlier. In terms of like the representation, like trying to make sure there's more representation. Like, how has that been for you? Because I've enjoyed seeing what you've written and then the videos you posted. So, are you getting like people helping you out with that? Trying to spread your message?
I think I tried to seek other like places that also feel the same way that I feel. So recently I had like a blog post about the lack of diversity in children's literature, published by a really emphasizes making sure people know that, like, we as Americans, as Black individuals, matter. And I think that, like, finding other people who like have the same mindset as me has helped. I guess to spread this message. Like, I didn't just come up with this. Like, there have been people who have been doing this for years. I'm trying to get more diverse books into the hands of children. I'm just another author who feels the same way. And trying to help other people to like understand where like we're coming from when we say this.
So have people been people that you've been working alongside, they've been welcoming and willing to assist you?
Yeah, Yeah, so I also write for my library's blog,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, the people that I work with at the library are super supportive. Like, they will read anything that I write, they will give me feedback on it, and they have, like, I've published through the library's blog some touchy topics, and I think that a part being a part of a library is that um, point of views, and you want to spread like this message of like communication and dialogue with people who might not think like you, and I think the library has definitely been open to that.
Nice. I think I know I have more questions, and I'm still looking at your website. As well, I've been trying to come back to this question, and I keep forgetting it. I think as someone that's doing like a lot self-publishing, and where you are working in the library, do you think that the career field you're in, like, what advice would you give to people who want to like take this path? Going to get a master's, everything. What would you say to them?
Well, I guess like I guess one thing that people should understand is like you don't have to have a master's degree in writing to be a writer. You can very well just write and put yourself out there. I think that like if you want to really hone your craft and really understand how to be a better writer, then you should go for whether you go to Carnegie Mellon or go to a community college. Like, you should definitely take opportunities that are going to help you be better at what you want to do. And that can be with anything. That can be with writing, acting, I don't know, whatever you want to do. It can be like, as long as you take those opportunities, you're becoming better at what you want to do.
Okay, got you. Now, if people want to find like copies of your work and reach out to you, where can they find you at?
Well, you can visit my website, www.brittanythurman.com. And up there, I have links to the various blog posts I have written. I have information on me and what I've done, information on book festivals that I've attended. And I'm not self-published. I'm still, very adamant about getting an agent or a publishing house to publish my work. But I don't know, that might change. So, but yeah, my website is definitely a resource, or my Instagram. I'm constantly posting things on there. My Instagram is BritJanee, and my Twitter is Janae Brittany, which is JaneeBrittany.
And on your page again, I finally got something to. I finally got one of your pages to come up. I could never get the clip to actually go to it. I've been trying for a while, and it just kept sitting there. Okay. What has been some of the things that you really have enjoyed writing the most?
I don't know. I've enjoyed. I guess I'm trying to think of how to frame this. Like, I enjoy writing. I love writing, but writing is sometimes not the most fun process. So I think the one thing that I've enjoyed the most is it's a picture book manuscript that I've written and that I love, because it emphasizes how a Black girl should accept herself, but think the most unenjoyable aspect of writing that was probably like the revision process and the critiques, and I guess how it's changed from my first draft to the draft that I have now. It's completely different. It still has the same message, but it's just different. But that's probably like the one thing that I've really enjoyed writing the most.
Okay. I will say I do like your website. On the other children's literature section right now. And I was trying to get things to open. Might just be my interesting mouse.
I feel like I should bring it up. Yeah. I feel like I should look at it at the same time.
Okay, fine. I'm looking at the section you wrote, and it says revising. It's on September 13th, 2016. No, okay. So here's something I should have asked earlier, but I didn't think about it. How do you get into like the mindset of writing when you do sit down to write?
When I do sit down, which is like key because I haven't been writing as much as I should. Honestly, like I just do it at random times if I have the time. One thing that I've been doing recently, I've been working on like a new novel, and I write the chapters in the notes of my iPhone while I'm on my way to work. And I feel like that's something that has like I've written like almost like a little over half of my novel that way. Mm-hmm. And so it's not me sitting down at a desk writing, it's me sitting on the bus typing up chapters of this novel. And I don't know, it seems like the ideas have come to me quicker doing it that way. I don't know if this novel is good, but it's a method of writing that I've definitely enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's interesting you say that, because when taking some classes, like one of the classes we had to do was write on a blog, and I found like I did most of, I guess, my better writing on my phone when I wasn't at home on the computer. There's something about sitting on your computer where it's like you're just focused, like your attention's like right there on the screen. But if you're in transit or out and about, your mind's wandering, you're walking, so I guess like you're putting more energy into what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that like I have like when I get home, I just want to relax because I work a full-time job. Like I don't necessarily want to do anything extra when I'm at home, and so I feel like maybe like doing this on the bus on my way to work is just I need my ideas out there.
Mm-hmm. So, and that might, and I think I now understand why people go to Starbucks and other places to actually do their work. I get it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at. I have no idea how to share a screen. Still figuring this out. You're talking about okay, so it's revising September 13th, 2016. So these posts up here, I'm taking these are more like your personal posts. Then it stars.
Well, these are these are just posts on writing. So the first one that you see, the other side of children's literature, was a post that I wrote for a blog, and I just put the link to it on my website. The revising and on rejection, those are just posts, I guess, to help other writers understand like the process to writing and just some tips to help people out.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And I'm wondering, Candy Junkie, is that the theme you picked, or is that I know I saw it before. I'm just curious.
Say it again.
Candy Junkie. I was just curious. I know I saw it about you.
Candy. Yeah. So Candy Junkie is another aspect to my website. It's like another blog. and it's about my love for candy.
Okay.
So
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
so that one is called I Have Serious Addiction to Candy. So it's just something random. It's not related to writing at all, but and I thought that would put up there.
Nice. And I'm glad you did, because it lets people see that, you know, there's more to people than just, you know, what they, you know, they pick a book up off the shelf. It's like, you know, there's that small section like about the author, and then there's not much more to it. So I'm glad you did that. It makes it more personal.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna be like a bad person to say I have not had candy in a very long time. I can't remember the last thing I had. Might have been a Reese's like about a year ago.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good. I wish that I could, you know, stop my addiction to candy.
My addiction, I admit, is ginger snaps.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah, I mean, I like all types of sweets. Yeah, especially like this time of year is always hard because they're everywhere. At work last week we had a cookie feast, so like avoiding sweets this time of year is like impossible for me.
yeah. It's funny you say that because I had some cheesecake earlier.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right. It's something about holiday season that's like holidays and everyone's gonna have fruitcake or whatever. But yeah, but yes, I do like your website, and I really hope that people visit it to learn more about you and contact you on your social media sites. And I will definitely be sure to put those in the video description. Thank you.
Okay.
But was there anything else that you want people to know about you?
I don't know. I think we've covered a lot. I don't really know. Think like, you know, you can find more things on my website or my Instagram. I love pictures. I love taking pictures. So I have, I mean, obviously I have a lot of those on Instagram. So yeah.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to speak with me this evening. This was fun.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.